Hey everybody, it's me, Michaela with OM Systems. System, don't put an S on the end of it. There's no S. Note to self, Michaela. Welcome everybody. I'm really excited for another episode tonight. Before we get jumping into it, I would absolutely love to remind you guys all to please mark your calendar because August 19th, we are bringing back World Photography Day in a big way. And if you keep your eye out on our events page, launching, I believe, Monday morning or Monday evening, depending on where you are, will be the full schedule and program for all the offerings that we'll have for World Photography Day. So you watched it last year. You remember it was a lot of fun. We had 12 hours of programming, of photography education. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It will be on our handy dandy events page where we host all of our global events. So you can kind of check out and see things in all kinds of different languages. And speaking of global events, tonight's episode is super exciting because we are bringing people from two different continents on to share their photography. And I can tell by the chat tonight, we always have a good amount of Australians in the chat, but I feel like we've got extra Australians this morning tonight. So welcome if you're new to the show or you haven't watched it before. We love to share photography from OM System photographers, Olympus photographers, and just interact with all of you guys down there in the comment section who are always awesome, cool, and kind. So let's see, the questions everybody asks every single time. Yes, this is being recorded. Yes, you can watch it when we're done. Don't worry. As soon as this live stream ends, you'll be able to see it on YouTube and Facebook. I also see a lot of people from Portland, Oregon randomly tonight, my hometown. So hi, all you Portland people. So speaking of the Pacific Northwest, it's much cooler up there today, I hope. I'm going to introduce our first guest. His name is Connor. Connor, how's it going?
Great. How are you doing, Michaela?
I'm dying. I'm so hot. I'm in California.
Yeah, yeah, it's hot up here. It's about 90 degrees right now. And
So
sitting in the
also
house with no
here.
AC,
Right.
not fun.
Right. It's 92-ish here. I've actually been
Yep.
practicing my Celsius for all of our Australian friends too. So it's like 32 degrees here. It's miserable in my
Yep.
studio.
Yeah, it's pretty hot up in this room.
Right. So, where are you based out of? Pacific Northwest, right? But where, what region, what area?
I based out of Seattle, well, just north of Seattle.
Yeah,
But
Seattle's kind of
yeah.
a big engulfing all of the top of Washington, right?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. So, what are you going to share with us tonight and what are you going to talk about? What is your photography genre? I think here we've got a little sample of it, a little taste, but why don't you tell us a little bit about your photography?
Um, I I'm shoot pretty much landscape and adventure photography. Uh, but I wanted to say a little bit about how I got into that. So I was raised playing sport, like a lot of sports and a lot of backyard games, and I slowly picked up golf because my dad is like a really good golfer, and so from there, I was just always outside, and I played all high school and college golf, and so I was always outside and always wanted to do more things. And so after high school, I actually started hiking, and that really opened my eyes to like seeing the mountains, seeing new landscapes, and not just like around my house and even on like golf course. But yeah, I slowly started getting into hiking and going on a couple backpacking trips, and from there it just kind of grew and grew and grew. And hanging out with friends in the backcountry just was so much fun. And so I had to pick up a camera because these places are just really cool. And so um, yeah, I just realized that backcountry and seeing places so far out, like 20, 30 miles out in the backcountry, was just so stunning. So I just started photographing, and it just grew ever since. Um, but yeah, and like you see here, I do a lot of adventures and going out like 20, 30, 40 miles in like 4 or 5 days. out in the backcountry to like see some things that people normally don't see on everyday life.
Wait,
Um,
did you say 45 days or 4 to
no,
5
sorry,
days?
4 to 5 days. Sorry.
I was about to say, wow, that is dedication to your craft. Go you.
Yeah, no, not that long. That's like PCT talk, but yeah, no, like 4 to 5 days out, just a backpack on my back and camera gear, and it's just so much fun to wake up for sunrise and see sunset, and just the golden hour and blue hour, just really cool up in the backcountry.
I feel like I saw you just got back from somewhere too. Where did you go recently?
I just went out to, or like 2 weekends ago, I went out to like this one really cool lake. It's called Spectacle Lake. It's a
Ooh,
really cool view. And then also the weekend before, or last weekend, I went out and tried to summit a small mountain that's like 6,000 feet up above elevation. So it's not too high, but you get to see a lot of things. It's actually one of the landscape slides that I have up
awesome.
down further. But
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
yeah. I've been really trying to get out and summit more peaks because that's what interests me a lot more nowadays. And instead of like going to lakes are super rad, but just getting on top of a mountain, you feel so much more just like with all the stuff that's happening out there. I just feel like it's so motivating and just I can't find the word, but um, it just it just brings so much happiness to me getting on top of a mountain.
That's awesome. I don't think that I
Yeah.
would attempt to scale a mountain, but I'm proud of you for being brave enough to try. That's awesome. Is that
Yeah.
you on a mountain down here too? Is this a selfie on the far right, or is that a friend that went with you?
No, that's actually a friend. That was
Oh,
last year for one of my birthdays. For my birthday weekend, we went out. We did like 65 miles, 4 days, which was super cool. It's just really massive loop that's in the North Cascades, and um, yeah, we came up this really huge glacier and got to the point, and we looked over. Once we got over the hill, we just saw like this epic view, and it just was so beautiful down there. We're actually camped down at the lake down below, which was super cool. But we had to stop and take a couple photos because this view was just unreal. Yeah,
absolutely. So, do
yeah.
you go out with the intention to photograph, or do you go out with the intention to camp and backpack, and the photograph is the happy byproduct of it?
I'd say a little bit of both. I like going out and just taking pictures of just mountains that people don't normally see,
Mhm.
at least from the road and stuff like that. But also, it just brings so much happiness to me that I get to go out and enjoy these places and spend time with friends. So it's just a lot of fun, and it's grueling work to go on a hike for that long, especially going like up and down elevation. But it's so much fun and so worth it, and just brings me so much happiness. Like I said,
That's awesome. Well, should
yeah,
we jump into some of your tips? Let's look at some of your
yeah,
other
sure,
photos, yeah?
let's do it.
Oh wait, I forgot. Sorry. First, let's talk about what you photograph with, what you bring with you on these backpacking trips. You got to
All
bring a
right.
bigger backpack than that, right? You got to have like a camping
Oh
backpack
yeah,
too.
no, this is like my day hiking bag. The
Mm,
Peak design, which I love. I've had it for like several years, but I basically bring my EM1 Mark III, my 40 to 150 to get kind of like zoomed in cropped shots and like layers of mountains, and then the wide angle lens, the 7 to 14, which I love just because you can get so much scale and
mm,
the depth of field. And also, I have this lens on probably more than anyone, the 12 to 40 millimeter, just because it's like so versatile and it's a small compact lens. So I can just have it resting on my shoulder with a clip, and it's so easy just to take and shoot with it. So, and then I also try to bring uh, my Olympus, the film camera, the 2N, just for like raw memories and taking pictures of people and stuff like that. And then I always have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich because that's like a go-to for me.
that's awesome. I always have like
Yeah.
a pepperoni stick and that's it. And then I'm like, why am I so
Oh yeah.
hungry? And I'm like, didn't plan ahead
Yeah.
for this.
Yeah, you need a
Def-
couple more than that.
yeah, I'm gonna start packing PB&Js next time. I definitely agree
Yeah.
with the 12 to 40 being the hiking lens that you can wear all day.
Yep.
That's always on my camera when
Hmm.
I know that I'm just gonna wander for a while.
No, totally. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So when you're out and you're hunting and you're looking and you're trying to find these awesome places, what do you use to find these places?
Um, for at least for around here, and I know for I believe Europe, because these two shots are actually from Europe. Um,
Mm,
Ultras is a really good app because they have pretty much every single hike that you could possibly imagine going on. You can just search it, or you can search a general area or wilderness area or like national forest, and a lot of things will come up, which is really cool. And that I just sat there on this app for like a couple of hours, just like searching for really cool hikes, and they display like a whole bunch of photos on the hikes and
mm-hmm.
also reviews, which is really cool as well.
Yeah, I
Um,
found some of my best hikes on all trails, and you can bookmark
yep,
and save things for different
yep,
cities. So if you're going on a trip and
hmm,
you're looking to plan ahead, you can go through, zoom in and around, pick the ones that are your favorites, read reviews, and make sure the trails are open, and then save them.
yep,
It's amazing.
yeah,
Absolutely love that app.
yeah. And I actually have I buy the like the pro version of it, and
Mhm.
you get to be able to download the maps as well, which is a really good idea because you can go out into no service and you can actually just see where you're walking and see how much you have left for mileage or kilometers, and so it's really handy. And it obviously you don't want to go off trail too much, so having a map, a GPS system is really good too, so highly recommend that. um, um, Another app that I use a lot is Clear Outside. It kind of
Mm.
shows you the weather forecast, like how warm it's going to be every hour, and then what the cloud coverage is, if it's going to be low or high fog or high clouds. So it just and it tells you wind speeds as well. So it's just like there's a lot going on for that, and it tells you pretty much every single step, every single hour, what it's going to be like. So it really comes in handy. Um, Especially because it rains a lot here in the Pacific Northwest. So knowing like each hour is pretty nifty. It's pretty spot on too. So I highly recommend that over like the iPhone app.
Hmm.
And I know what's that?
Oh, I was going to ask
Oh,
what the iOverlander is. I don't have that app, so maybe I need to download
oh
it.
yeah. So if you're going on a lot of road trips, especially for in the US, and I think I checked on it in a little bit of Canada as well. You
Mhm.
can basically look at a map and see where you can camp for free, which is really awesome when you are like on a budget or don't really want to spend money for a hotel or Airbnb. So I always, whenever I go on road trips, I typically just stay in my car all the time or use a tent. And this app shows you just kind of like all trails. It shows you where the location is. It tells you reviews and a couple pictures as well. So I highly recommend that app because I've that came in handy a lot instead of paying for a hotel or Airbnb. So
Nice.
yeah. And then another app that I use a lot is Pinterest. A lot of people I feel like don't really know about it. There's a lot of blogs on there, and I've found some really cool spots. A lot in Europe as well for just going out and hikes and just general really cool spots as well around the
Mm.
city. So um, I find it really useful. I know a lot of guys say, "Oh, it's only for women," but dude, which I mean, like a lot of women use it, but also it's like it's such a great tool to be able to use it for like photography tips. So I mean, hey, I don't care.
Right.
I really enjoy it. Yeah. And then also another, I also use Instagram just to check for spots and cool photos that they have to get a little bit inspired to see kind of if I want to take a photo at that place and get new perspectives that people like different perspectives that people have already taken. So it's like a little tool.
Nice.
But yeah.
And I see that you use Luminar to do your editing.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like I'm a little odd one because a lot of people use Lightroom and
Mhm.
I use Luminar AI, which is really cool. I don't change landscapes, and I mean I don't change like the the sky replacements and stuff like that. You can, but I mean I'm not that type of photographer, so I just kind of leave
Right.
it alone. But I just like it because it does what I want. And so, I mean, if that's all that is, then it's easy. And I like it because it's like a one-time fee and I don't have to pay monthly for it,
Right. Subscriptions,
which is
man, they
really
get
nice.
you.
Yep, they definitely get you.
So do you do I follow you on Instagram, obviously. I love your work. That's how I
Hmm.
found you. Do you do a lot of heavy editing, or do you find that you just kind of enhance colors, or like, I mean, how long do you think your editing process is on an image?
I'm pretty quick with it because I kind of have a general idea of what I want. It really like is different between multiple different like locations, but I pretty much just play around with some of the hues. I do a little bit of saturation, but not too much.
Mhm.
But then I use like a little bit of color grading to make it the style that I want. Which I mean, it's like 5 to 10 minutes max normally, and if it's that long, I kind of just I can't really get a feel for the image. I just kind of like work on another one or close my laptop and walk away from it because I don't feel like spending too much time on an edit.
Yeah, take a break, come
But
back, see it tomorrow.
yeah, yeah. See you tomorrow or next week, something like
Yeah,
that.
that
uh,
makes sense.
uh,
Awesome. All right. So, oh, what do we got here? Oh, I like that sunburst. That's cool. Wait, are those your feet?
yeah.
Nice.
Yes, that's my feet. I do. This is one of my friends said this is my classic Connor shot. So I bust it out every once in a while with a really cool like cliff. I was sitting up on a high rock and the drop was probably like 1,500 feet down, but I just like this perspective because you get to see how like massive it actually is.
Right.
So yeah, but yeah, things that to look out for in photos. I like a couple years ago, I started trying to like use more leading lines. So as can
Mhm.
see in the desert shot, there's kind of like a light hue of a dune just kind of wrapping around. It kind of brings your eyes to from the left to the right and then back up to the left, so you kind of get a full view of the whole image. And I stuck
Mhm.
my friend uh, Juliet right in the middle of the kind of pathway. And so I thought that kind of gave off a really cool leading line, and it just kind of makes you want to see the whole photo instead of just like the middle of the photo. So I try to look for leading lines and also rule of thirds. And so like I kind of got a third of the sky, third of the middle, and then the last third is my friend walking through it. So I always try to like evenly space out my photos for rule of thirds. and
Nice.
then and then also for clothing to bring out like a shot, like I had my friend, I mean she was wearing a red jacket, but it definitely makes it pop a little bit more. So like um it just kind of brings the image out and you can see the person a little bit more in it. Um and then or like generally I'm in forest, and so like a light blue or a bright yellow shirt or coat goes really far because they're just super bright and you can see them and you can see the scale more. um
Mm.
yeah, and then uh try not to have people above the horizon or like in the middle of the horizon, because it looks like it's like if a person's up here and the horizon is like right above them, it kind of looks to me like it's a little awkward shot. So I always try to have the person above the horizon or below the horizon just to make sure like they're not in between the two, because it kind of throws off their perspective there. And
Mm.
then I always try to have a scene with less guys, but sometimes it calls for like if it's an epic night and you see like a whole
Right.
bunch of clouds lighting up, it's like, okay, well, you have to take pictures of clouds because they're there and happening. But I feel like most of the time, like I got lucky on these two shots, but most of the time here in the Pacific Northwest, there isn't that many clouds out, which is kind of a bummer. So I generally uh, shoot more landscape versus sky in that way. Because I mean, like sometimes the clouds are out and they look really cool, but most of the time there's like no clouds out, and you're like, oh man, but it's still good
I feel
lighting on
like
the horizon. So
I feel like it's the opposite. And someone who was born and raised in the Pacific Northwest, I can say this. I feel like there's clouds. It's just so much cloud. It's just a wall of gray cloud. And
yeah,
so there
well,
is
yeah,
no
that's
sky.
yeah, yeah. I
You
mean,
don't get any of
most
the
of the time it's
cute,
like that
fluffy
too.
clouds.
No, I mean, on the left hand, in this is in Oregon, Smith Rock, but
Mhm.
I mean, there was clouds there because it was, I think it was like 2 months ago, but yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. Um,
So what's on your checklist? I see you have a checklist for what you must bring backpacking. What's on yours?
oh, I
Did I
just
jump
like
too far ahead? Sorry.
no, that's all right. No, that's fine. I always make a checklist of what I need to bring. So if it's a day hike versus like a backpacking overnighter, it's kind of a little bit different, but kind of the same. You definitely want to bring a lot of water and a water filter just in case, because you never
Mhm.
know if it's too hot, like it is right now in the Pacific Northwest. You definitely want to be drinking water. You see so many people out hiking with just a small little Kirkland water bottle or plastic water bottle, and that just isn't enough, because if you're hiking at least a couple of miles, you need more water. So definitely bring a water filter and a big hydro flask. I know it's a little bit to carry, but it's definitely worth it because you want to stay hydrated and not like faint, because that's, I've had that happen and it's not fun. You definitely want to have enough food. So for day hiking, I bring, like I said, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and maybe like some salami sticks, like you were saying, just because it's a
Mhm.
good way to fuel up. And so I just bring kind of like small snacks for day hiking, but then also for like backpacking, I also bring a PBJ and then dehydrated food, a lot of Cliff Bars, and just like maybe some tuna in a packet just because it's flat and it packs well, and maybe some hummus. So just like just things that you want to bring that you like and that can pack well and that doesn't need like too much refrigeration. So it's gonna get like moldy and warm, and you don't really want warm food when it's hot outside. Um, but yeah, for that's for backpacking, and also you want to bring like a tent, a sleeping pad, and a sleeping bag, because I've my friends know this. I always forget to bring my sleeping pad, and I sleep on hardpan, like just dirt and rocks, and
Oh,
you get
no.
cold. So you definitely want to make sure your sleeping pad is in your backpack when you leave your house. Um, so that's kind of like the main coverage for backpacking, and of course, like some extra clothes. But for uh, just and in general, I always forget. Sometimes I forget to bring my SD card, so I always like right before I leave for the trip, I open up my SD card slot just to make sure I have it in there, and when I pick up my camera, it's there, because I've definitely left multiple times without an SD card. So it's like I always just have to remember it, and I like make a note on my car, like, hey, bring your SD card because you need that to take photos. And also I open up my my battery slot, just so I know that I put it in there, or if I'm charging it the night before, like I slip one in there when I pick it up in the morning. It's just a really good reminder for me that I found. Um, but yeah, that's kind of like the checklist
Nice.
for yeah, for backpacking and day hiking.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Oh,
This was
is
the
this the trip you just took?
Yeah, this is the trip I just took. I have to edit some more photos, and you will see that shortly on my Instagram. But um, this was such an like epic day. Um, we started off super early in the morning. Well, not super early. Uh, we got to the trailhead about like 9 o'clock and started hiking. So I guess that's not too early, but we hiked up and kind of had like 4 or 5 hours to kill. We got a really cool camping spot that had Mount Shuxon in the background. It's right next to Mount Baker, and it was just really cool. And we jumped in the lake down below and cooled off because that lake is glacier water, and it's freezing. It's probably like maybe 35 degrees, so it's very cold. But it made us cool off because it was like 80 degrees out for that day. And then about like 5:30 to 6 o'clock, we hiked up to the top of the peak that we were going to climb. Well, actually, there was a false summit that we went to just because the summit of that mountain we were climbing was a little bit too technical, and we kind of chose a different route to take.
Mm-hmm.
But we hiked up, and it was super beautiful, seeing views of Mount Baker, Mount Shuxon, and a couple other just beautiful mountains. And this is actually the Picket Range out here, which is really cool mountains. And I need to go backpacking in there, but we started off by hiking super steep in the woods, and then it cleared out to like some snow. So we were walking on snow for a bit, and then it got to gravel or like shale rocks. And then we looped around the backside of the mountain and we're hiking on snow. We actually had to have an ice axe just because if we fall, you'd go like probably 500 feet down. So we definitely wanted to have an ice axe for self arrest. And we got up on the peak and we just enjoyed sunset and having dehydrated meal up there, which was super rad. Dehydrated food is not the best, but you find ones out there that are better than others, that's for sure. So
Right.
yeah, it
That's
was a good time.
that's so intense. Like you put the absolute adventure behind landscape photography. Like there's so much adventure
Yeah.
happening here. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
oh, you're so brave. But also
Yeah.
kind of explain seriously, if you follow Wandering Connor on Instagram, his photos are so neat and cool, and they seem so picturesque. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that you're in such secluded areas. You know, it's not that same Grand
Mhm.
Canyon photo that we all take when we're
Yep.
standing there in the parking lot. So, I mean, it's just
Mhm.
really interesting to see how far you have traveled to get the experience and the photograph. It's really awesome.
Well, I appreciate that. It's definitely a lot of fun to go out in the backcountry. Like I said, enjoy it with friends and just have a good time.
Awesome.
It, yeah, it brings me so much happiness, and this like I get regenerated for the next work week. So it's
Right.
like, and then the next weekend you go out and do it again. So it's pretty fun.
That's awesome.
Uh,
So I did see a couple of questions that I'd love to share
okay,
with you. Bernard
yeah, let's
asked,
go.
what lens do you keep on your 2N, on your film camera?
It's a it's a 2.8 50 millimeter.
I was going to say, is it the Nifty 50? I feel like that's what we all have on our
Yeah,
film cameras.
yeah, it's just like the normal 50 millimeter, which I really like. I like it to get. I even have I think I have a 28 for it. If
Mhm.
I believe I have a 28 for it, but I just haven't brought it out. Um, the 50 is just such a good lens, and it's a good portrait lens, so just kept it on.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. And then do you bring a tripod with you on these backpacking trips? Are you totally all hands?
I am all hands. I do not bring any tripod because it just adds the weight to it, and the Olympus is so uh like the stabilization is just perfect. Like I can even take the the ND filter to it and have like a long exposure, and so I can just do it handheld. I just put myself into a tripod position and then just slowly press the shutter speed without shaking the camera too much, and it comes out really well. So it's another reason why I love Olympus, because of that.
Right. I've definitely
Yeah.
mastered the tripod stance with those super wide
Yep.
legs and like, don't move.
Yep.
And you like hold your elbow all funny and you're like, all right,
Yep. Yep.
I got this.
It's the photographer pose.
Right. People walk by and they're just like, what are you doing?
Yeah, yeah,
Last
right.
one directed to you is are you using Luminar Neo, or what version are you using?
Yeah, so I have there's two versions. There's Luminar Neo and Luminar AI. I do have Luminar Neo. I don't use it too much. It's better, I think, to be able to take out power lines and people, and like if there's something in the shot that I don't really care for, then I'll use it. But generally speaking, I just use Luminar AI. But yeah.
Okay, one last one, because I'm dying to know too. Are you considering switching to the OM1?
Totally. I really hope to make the change soon. And it's not really it's a big change, but yeah, I'm really stoked for it. I just have to pay for some other things, like going on a couple more trips in the fall, so which I'm excited for. So maybe I can squeeze it in there, but I really hope I can get that soon.
Yes, well, we'll be
It's been on
waiting
my
for you
radar.
on the other side. Don't worry.
Awesome. Yes.
Awesome. Well, Connor, it was super awesome hanging out with you. I'm going to give you your evening back, and we are going to introduce a new friend. But I really want to
Awesome.
say thank you so much for your time and joining us tonight and sharing your awesome photos.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for letting me be a part of this because this was a lot of fun.
Awesome. Have a great night, Connor. Thank
All right,
you.
see you later.
All right. Are we ready? We're going to meet someone new. This guy is from Australia. I see all the Australians in the chat, so they are super excited and ready to meet Cam. Hi, Cam.
Good morning. How you going?
Oh, I'm good. I'm really excited. I forgot it was morning for you already.
Yeah, it's very early. Well, not early. 8:30. That's not super early.
That's early for some of us.
Yeah, not when you got kids. You're up early with kids, so.
True.
Yeah.
Very true. So there's so many people. Somebody just popped on saying they're from Ocean Grove. Do you know where
Right.
that is?
I know where that is, and I think I know who that might be.
We got a bunch of Gold Coast too.
Yeah, I was just listening to Connor and how hot it is where you guys are, and it's about 4 degrees Celsius here, which is about 37 degrees Fahrenheit for you guys. So we've got snow on the mountain out the back here in Hobart, and so the guys in the Gold Coast are probably sitting on probably 18 or 19 or 20 degrees in the morning, looking at palm trees and enjoying life. So yeah, it sounds tough for them, but we're a bit cold down here.
Right. It's very cold. Somebody called us a baby in the chat. I saw that, by the way. I'm watching.
Yeah,
the chat,
I
guys.
did. I did see that too. Someone said that you're a bit of weaklings up there, but that's true though in a way, because Australia it gets up to 45 degrees in summer in some cities. So
where I live, we regularly have 40 to 45 or 100 to 110. So 90 is actually cool for us. So I'm not a baby.
No. Well, we're a bit tough down here with other people in Australia with their temperatures.
Okay, so oh my gosh, it's 6:30 in West Oz. Sorry for the Westerners. I apologize for the early hours. Adelaide looks cold. It's 8 degrees. So where are you based out of, Cam? You are not on the main part, if I'm getting this right.
Yeah, that's one way. That's one way you could say it. Yeah, I'm on the little island below the big island. So we have big mainland Australia, and then we have little tiny island down the bottom called Tasmania. Not to be confused with Tanzania. When I was in America a few years ago, people thought we lived in Tanzania. But it's not. Tasmania. So the southern island off the bottom of Australia. I don't know what size it is in relevance to any of the states in America, but it's not huge. You can sort of drive around it in about a couple of days, probably a day and a half, 2 days. You can go from side to side or north, south, east, west. So yeah, it's not a huge island, but it packs a really big punch for adventures and landscape photography.
Yes, I've gone through your photos, and I'm jealous that your landscapes are so nice. I live in farmland, so I have flat, and you've got all these beautiful rolling things, these hills.
Yeah, we have a good mixture here. We have a west coast that's really, really rugged, and then we have like a Midlands that's really a bit like where you are, sort of farmland and flat, and then we have this beautiful east coast, which is all these beautiful beaches. They're not tropical beaches. You can just go swimming on them, but you need a wetsuit and be a bit braver, I think.
Right. It is really funny because all of a sudden the Australians in the chat are all having arguments over who's got the colder weather right now. I keep forgetting it's winter for you guys.
Yeah, it is. And if there's anyone commenting from Queensland about how cold it is, we don't want to hear about it down here in Tasmania. So, yeah.
This is cracking me up. There's like a whole conversation about the degrees of
Yeah.
Australia right now.
Yeah. Well, as we
So-
speak, my sunlight's coming in the window. You can probably see it on my screen here. So we're actually going to have a nice day down here in Tasmania. So cold, but nice.
Nice. So
Yeah.
what got you into, how did you come to OM System Olympus Photography? How'd you get in here?
It's a long story, but I know we've only got about 25 minutes. But so it goes back a fair way. It goes back to when I was a kid, like a teenager, and my dad actually worked for Olympus in Melbourne. I think you visited Melbourne, and
Yep.
he was a sales rep for them for many, many years. And I was sort of not born with a camera in my hand, but I was sort of had all the sample cameras in his car like reps do, and so I got using them, and then. My first camera, I think my first camera was actually a Pentax K1000, like an old film camera. And
I
then
had that as well.
yeah, I think anyone over the age of 30's had a Pentax K1000 at some
Right.
stage. Yeah. So then I sort of kept in that that sort of industry. I worked in a camera shop for many years, and always used Olympus cameras. I've used all their film cameras. I'm a bit of a camera collector as well. I've got a lot of the OM 1, 2, 3, and 4 like Connor had as well. So so I was sort of born into it in a way, and then I went and did some study in photography, and so for the last 20 years I've been shooting predominantly OM System or Olympus. I say this to a lot of people. I've used other systems, but I always find when I'm shooting with the OMs that I take more shots, and I think Connor touched on that as well, that you can go further, you can take your camera more, and you can take more photos more regularly. And like you said, you just hang it on your bag, and it's always there to take photos. So, it's not a word of a lie, but I would attribute a lot of my photography that I like to the camera system, because I think it has got me to places that I probably wouldn't have gone with a real big heavy system and missed out on all these amazing shots. So. Yeah, so I've been using it for about 20 years, I reckon. I'm starting to sound old now, but that's okay.
You've been around. You're a
I've been around.
legacy user.
Pretty much, in a way, yeah. So,
Love it.
yeah.
So I want to look at some more of your photos. I love this
Sure.
one, by the way. Wait, where is this? Did you hike up to get this before we move on?
Well,
Because I love
this
this
one.
photo.
This one's going to disappoint you. This is pretty much out of a car door. So
I like that. No, that is me all
that's
the way.
good. All right, yeah. So
That
this
gives
is
me hope.
This is in the southwest of Tasmania, and it's called Lake Pedder. And it's a bit of a controversial lake because it was dammed back in the 70s. And so the original lake is actually up around the corner of that little inlet, and there was this beautiful sun rays coming on. But that was shot at about 200 or 300 mil, so it's actually quite a long shot. But yeah, it's literally from a car park where you can beautiful lookout with 360-degree views of epic mountains and lakes and stuff like that. So it's one of my favourite shots. It's always, I can always remember the exact day and what it was like and the weather. And there was not a soul in sight. Had the whole place to myself, so it was really cool.
I love that you have that story and memory attached to it too, which
Yeah.
is like the reason we take these photos, right? Is to remember
Yeah,
these
totally.
things.
Absolutely.
But it also gives me such hope that you took this from a car park, because I am
Yeah.
that person that like pulls over and is like, "Ooh, that's pretty."
Yeah,
And as much as Connor's images were amazing, I can't climb mountains, so this is
Yes.
much more my level.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny, Tasmania is a very big tourism place, and it's not uncommon to come around some of these beautiful corners and there'll be a tourist in the middle of the road stopping and taking a photo out their window, which is dangerous and cool at the same time, but yeah, so
That seems a little dangerous. Somebody wants me to ask you about your awesome podcast really quick before I move on.
well, I do host a podcast called the Down South Photo Show.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's all about, it's two guys, one's in Melbourne and one's in Tasmania, me, and it's all about landscape photography, and it's pretty lighthearted, and we have a good chat every week. So we're on YouTube and we're on the podcast and Podbean, and so the Down South Photo Show. It'd be great if we've got some people from America to tune in, because we show off some of our pictures from around Australia, and we talk about all the latest gear that's coming out, and horror stories and all types of things. So we love it. It's really just a reason for a friend of mine to have a beer every week and have a chat, and it works.
I need a podcast.
You should.
I love beer and chatting. This is great.
Maybe we can have you on as a special guest. We could have you on as our special guest in one of the episodes.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to go through your photos. Let's take a look,
cool.
and I'll stop jibba-jabbing.
You're right.
Okay, first and foremost, we got to do the dirty. What do you got in your bag?
So recently I've got the OM1. So before we were talking to Connor, I was encouraging him to get it because I think it's a game changer in regards to adventure and landscape. So I've got the OM1. I've still got my EM1 Mark III. I've also got my favorite camera of all time is the Olympus OM3 Ti film camera. Growing up as a kid, Dad used to have little catalogs in the back of his car of this camera, and I always wanted one, so I bought one a few years ago. And for landscape, again, the 12 to 40 2.8 Pro lens, I find that is the most versatile lens I've used in most systems. The 40 to 150, again, you can hike around with a 300 mil equivalent for half the weight of what other brands do, which I think is great. I've recently bought the 8 to 25. And the other reason I went the 8 to 25, I had the 7 to 14, but just the lack of filter thread made it a bit bulky for all the filters on the front. So when the 8 to 25 came out, I was really excited. And another one I really like, which I think is a really underrated lens in the whole genre, a whole kit of Olympus lenses or OM lenses, is the 75mm 1.8. That is such a great lens, and it's so good for being in landscapes. You can just get that extra depth into your landscape and get that peak or get that bird on a tree or whatever it might be. So I love that lens, and it's super small. And then obviously if I'm going out somewhere, I'll take extra batteries and memory cards. Down here in Tasmania, we get a little bit of rain and wind and snow and a few other things. So obviously lens wipes and lens cleaners. The OM1, which I love now, you can just plug in a portable charger and charge it with USB. So you can just take a battery bank and go out for days on end and not have to worry about batteries. And when I do hiking, I actually run a photography business down here where we do some adventure photography tours. So one of them is hiking the Overland Track, which is a pretty world famous track down here in Tasmania. It's about 70 kilometres and about 6 days. So for that, I use the f-stop bags. I think they're really cool with the compartments. You just pull in and pull out, and you can put all your hiking gear in there as well. So that's pretty much my kit. I would usually only take one body at a time. Wouldn't take two bodies out with me, just to keep the weight down that little bit more. But yeah, but that pretty much sums up what would be in my bag.
Somebody did ask what portable charger you use. Do you know which one?
I do. I'm using it right now. It's an Anker, I think ANKER battery charger.
Nice.
And that I can get like 2 or 3 charges out of the OM1. I can recharge it up, but then again, like having said that, like this 6-day hike I do, I think I might charge my battery maybe half for the whole 6 days. The batteries in most cameras these days are pretty phenomenal, so you can go pretty far and long without having to charge too much.
Yeah, I'm actually shocked at how rarely I end up charging my battery anymore, which is nice. Very refreshing.
Yeah, it is good, and yeah, technology's come a long way where we can do that. But having the USB charge to me is awesome. One, it means you don't have to worry about taking your battery out of your camera or getting moisture in there or sand or anything. You can just plug it in, away you go, and problem solved. Really, you charge it for the next day, and away you go.
Yeah, and it's awesome when you're on road trips. Like I obviously take my camera on road trips, but because I can plug it in my car because I have a USB port in my car. So
yes.
I'm like, it's so convenient. If it's starting to go dead, I can just plug it in while we're driving to the next location and be ready.
Absolutely, you just top it up, and away you go. It's awesome. Yeah.
Awesome. No peanut butter and jelly though, huh? So what do you eat on the trail?
It's funny. I was listening to Connor about PB&J, and I've never had a PB&J sandwich in my life.
Do Australians not eat them?
It's not really a thing down here. So I love peanut butter, but this will shock a lot of the Australian listeners and maybe some of the American listeners. I've never had a Vegemite sandwich. So we have Vegemite down here, which you're practically given from birth. And I've never had a Vegemite sandwich ever. So I love peanut butter, but I don't think I'd mix it with jam or jelly. I think it's
weird.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is a bit weird, I think.
I mean, it's just funny how different.
Yeah,
that's like an American child staple. Like you. Yeah. I mean, I guess it's like you're saying you're giving it from birth.
Yeah, that's our Vegemite. But when we do go hiking, the Cliff Bars, which Connor mentioned, are really, really good. Dehydrated meals, again, like he said, there's a variety of tastes. Sometimes it just depends which bit of cardboard you like the taste of more than the other one, because they can get a bit bland. And I reckon some people have been hiking with me will know this one as well. But my go-to snack when I'm hiking is the little pineapple lollies. They're like little lollies that look like pineapples, and they just give you a bit of energy. They perk you up. You feel a bit happier and sunshine, and away you go. So
are they legal?
yeah, they're legal, totally legal. They're probably packed with sugar, but whenever I go hiking, if I'm getting a bit grumpy on a hike or getting a bit tired, it's almost like that ad where they give you a Snickers and you feel better. It's give you some pineapples and you'll feel better.
Get a jab of sugar, you're good to go.
Yeah, exactly right.
Oh my gosh! Somebody said you've never lived because you have not had Vegemite. So
I'll tell you, I may get some pretty abusive emails after this if I don't say it, because if you're an Australian and you haven't eaten Vegemite, then there's something wrong with you if you haven't done that. So yeah. But I'll stick true. I'm not going there.
Sorry, I didn't mean to out you on this episode.
No, that's fine. It's all coming out now.
All right. Okay. Ooh. I like your. Wait, this is all in the same place, or are these two separate locations? Like.
This is all Tasmania. Yeah, this is all
Beautiful.
Tasmania. Yeah. So the shot on the left with the man fern, or the big fern that we have, that's in a location called the Tarkine, which is in the northwest corner of Tasmania. It's one of the world's largest cool temperate rainforest regions. So sadly, it's under a bit of threat from mining and logging and things like that, which is not uncommon around the world. But it's just beautiful forest, old growth trees. We're talking trees that are in the up to the 1,000 years old mark in trees. Some of the oldest and tallest trees grow in this region as well. But this was taken on one of the tracks down to, there's a lot of sinkhole lakes around that region as well. So, but yeah, just, I love how the forest, you can sort of frame up your own shot with the fern leaves and the forest and stuff like that. So, that was taken, and again, that was handheld shooting in quite a dark forest, which is something I really love about the system, is that you can use that image stabilizer to, you don't have to get there and set up your tripod, and then by the time you set the tripod up, the light's gone, or the sun's come out, or the sun's gone in. You can really shoot spontaneously at what catches your eye, which is what I love. And the shot on the right is, again, I'm going to say world famous, but maybe not. But it's Cradle Mountain, which is a very famous location here in Tasmania. I refer to Cradle Mountain in the national park. I think it's Australia's Yosemite National Park. It's very sort of similar in what it's got. Lots of mountains, beautiful scenery. It gets very busy like Yosemite as well. But this was taken on a really, really, really cold winter morning. I think it was around about -5 or 6 Celsius. Like the parks and wildlife people actually shut the park down because there was so much snow and people couldn't drive in there. I was just lucky enough to already have been in the park when the snow hit, so I got up that morning and I was the only person in the national park. And so I took a photo of this beautiful mountain with the light hitting in the morning. Again, it was handheld. I was just walking around. I took so many shots that morning. It was just incredible. So, it's a beautiful spot. It's all glacial regions as well. So,
I have 2 questions for you. One of them personally is, I'm looking on your tips list and it doesn't mention that you have a friend on call who knows where you are when you're all alone in a park. Danger.
Yes. Yep.
Make
so
sure
I do let my wife know exactly where I'm going and where I'm going. And I also use, religiously, I take one of those Garmin InReach units. I'm not sure if you know them, because they work fantastically, and you can text message whoever you need. You can even do Facebook updates from them, which is ridiculous. But you can send messages to people, and if you do get in trouble, you can call in the rescue folks as well. And because I run guided tours along the overland track, which actually goes behind this mountain, so you walk out and behind this mountain, it's a condition of my license in the park that I actually have to have those rescue beacons with me. But I always do tell someone where to go. That's just a given. So
right. Sorry, I'll stop being a mom about that. But I was
no,
like, that
that's
needs
fine.
to be on your list.
That's fine. It's good that we all care about each other and make sure we don't get lost or injured. So, but I thought, some adventure tips I put up there. Again, it goes to what you're just saying there, that planning is everything. So not only are you planning where you're going, it's really important to plan, to let people know your plan of where you're going and when you'll be back and how long you're going for. You need to obviously, make sure you know where you're going. Picking the right time of year and all that kind of stuff helps. And so planning is very crucial with doing adventure photography. I like to travel light. Again, just a day pack if I'm just doing a bit of a day adventure or an overnight adventure. It just means you can go further and faster and longer, and you can get to places that not everyone gets to. And I think what you and Connor are talking about as well, with that national park that gets very busy where he is, it's really quite hard these days with the popularity of photography to find those unique shots and get to those places that it hasn't been done to death on Instagram or Facebook. So travel light, I think it helps. I think this system helps you get to shots that not many people can get to. One of the biggest lessons I learnt growing through this whole process of me being a photographer is just exposing for the light that you see. Like, we all naturally catch our eye and say, oh, look at that mountain, or look at that lake or tree, but it's usually the light that's hitting that item that sort of catches our eye. So always expose for the light you see. So use your exposure compensation, or underexpose or overexpose, whatever you need to do. And again, with one of the things I love about the OM1 now is the new viewfinder. But the new viewfinder is, I think it's up there with the most highest resolution ones in the market. But you can just see so much detail now and see your exposure adjust and do everything really nicely. Using both wide and telephoto lenses, I think people sometimes get a bit maybe locked into just shooting wide angle all the time with landscapes and adventure. I use my telephoto religiously, either that 75mm or the 40 to 50, because you can just get shots that just look different,
Right.
and different from the norm. So circular polarizers as well. I love circular polarizers. I swear by circular polarizers. I think it's one of the easiest ways to improve your landscape and outdoor photography is just chuck one of these relatively cheap filters on the front of your camera, and you get all these beautiful deep blue skies and beautiful green colors and all the true colors that aren't reflecting light come through to your camera, which is really important. So if you don't have a circular polarizer, folks, go get one. They're not expensive. They can be a bit of a tricky one to put on and spin around and see the effects, but stick with it because I think they're worth it. Again, with the new OM1, and I've also played around with the EM1X, which has the inbuilt neutral density filters. I think that's a game changer. I used to be sort of anti-neutral density filters because all the big bulky bits, and they're really expensive as well, like bits of expensive glass on the front of your camera. The inbuilt ones are incredible. You just like, oh wow, there's a waterfall. Oh, okay, I'll just put an 8-stop, just dial it in, and away you go. It's like I go to so many places around Tasmania, and I see the bigger cameras with all the bigger filters on there, and cheeky or not cheeky, I just rock up and just dial it in, and yeah, look, that looks pretty good. Job done. So people get a bit narky about that, but so yeah, I think that's a really important a feature to the new cameras, and also the image stabilizer. Just the amount of times you just don't need a tripod anymore. It's incredible.
Totally agree with the built-in ND. Just
Yeah.
being able to jump and go and take your waterfall photo really quickly and walk away.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
yeah, and people sort of give you this filthy look that you're like, how can you do that with a camera and you're not setting up a tripod and you're not doing this and not doing that, and
Yep.
you just sort of look at them and smile and keep walking.
It's the OM system.
It's the OM system, yeah. But yeah, the image stabilizer, like I said, that's really great for hiking and adventures. Again, it just allows you that bit of extra confidence to take those shots on the run and know that you're going to get some nice sharp images. So so that's some of the tips I would have given for adventure photography. But got a few more as we get through. But yeah.
Quick question. This was actually my question earlier, but then somebody else asked it, so we're definitely asking it. The exposure on this image on the left is so interesting and cool.
Yep.
Did you use any sort of computational photography with it, or
Is this that's the Fern one? The Fern one?
Yeah, the Fern one. Yeah.
No, this is just all my photography is straight out of camera, single shot. Not putting any compositions or anything or composing any shots like that. So that is just using exposure. So underexposing, I think that's probably underexposed by probably 2 stops, just to get that real sort of dark edging around it, and then the focus or the exposure, as I said early in the tips there, exposing for the light I see. So I'm actually underexposing heavily to get that fern to look nice with the light on it and not all blown out like the rest of the forest was. So that's just a single shot underexposed, probably about 2 stops to get that sort of effect. And I think that's also, it says there it's shot on the 60mm macro lens. I think I might have been doing some macro work around the forest and turned around. So it's actually quite a long way into the forest as well. So I do like doing that with forest. I do like trying to find a portrait of a single tree and then sort of find a spot, little window in there, and you can shoot in, and sort of gives you a sense of depth and that you're really in the middle of a forest there.
Love it. I like it.
Yeah, cool.
Ooh.
Yeah,
I like this reflection.
Yeah, this is another one from the southwest of Tassie, or Tasmania as we call it, Tassie. This is a mountain range called the Western Arthurs. So these are an amazingly jagged and ruthless range of mountains that you can actually hike the whole ridge line. I think the ridge is about 15 or 17 kilometres long, and it takes about 5 or 6 days to hike because you're up and down, up and down, up and down the whole way. So, but this is on a really, really cold morning, beautiful reflections in the water. Again, this is just a no-brainer. This is from a road. Get out of the car, slam the brakes on, get out of the car and go, wow, I'll take that photo. And just lucky enough to have a really beautiful still morning. And again, I'll talk in the tips a bit later about looking for reflections and things like that to work into your photos. I think, this is another one of those ones where I remember exactly what it was like, what the temperature was. Again, there was no one around. It was really nice. So, but yeah, beautiful mountain range and a bit of snow. Yeah, it's a beautiful spot.
That's awesome. I love that all of these, you're like, yeah, I just slammed on my brakes and took this photo. I'm really jealous of the landscape that just happens to be on these roads you're passing on.
yeah. It's not all roads and sunshine and lollipops, but there is a few. There's a shot that I'll show later on where it was a bit of a hike in and a bit of a funny way to get out of there. But Tassie is known a lot for its hiking. It has some incredible hikes. It doesn't have the super duper long hikes like you do in California and America. The longest hike you can do is about 2 weeks, which actually takes off from this point and walks all the way around the southern coast. But most of the hikes are within 4 or 5 days that you can go in and out, which is great. But it's very popular for hiking. Its scenery is just beautiful, and it's not super busy. There's beautiful fresh air. You can drink all the water out of the waterfalls and the rivers. It's all pure clean water, and yeah, it's really, really lovely. So we're absolutely blessed to live down here.
That's awesome. So everybody, we're all vacationing at Cam's house next month.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Come on down.
Well, maybe let's wait till it's summer down there.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe wait till you get back into the warmer weather. But yeah, I think if there's anyone from the UK or the USA watching, then a lot of people want to come to Australia. Obviously, it's a very amazing country to come to, but definitely put Tasmania on your list to do at least a week down here. If you're a photographer, which most of the people watching would be, it is an absolute island paradise for photography. And if you can spend a week, you could do easily a good couple of laps around the island in a week and see all these sites and more. So yeah, put it on your itinerary. It's only about an hour flight from Melbourne. It's not very long. You just jump on a plane, hop down here, breathe the fresh air in, and get your camera out and enjoy.
Ooh, I like the reflection in that one.
Yeah,
Good
so
framing.
Yeah, that was a bit of a funny shot actually. I've never actually been to this national park a million times and never actually even I've walked past this little Lake Tarn a million times and never even knew it was there. And then I just happened to walk off the track a bit and went, oh, okay, that's going to work. And was lucky enough to get another still morning with a bit of light dusting of snow, and just used shooting through the button grass, shooting down low and getting through. So some of the other tips I like to give to people. So I actually run photography workshops and teach people a lot down here as well. So a lot of times what we're talking to people about is, looking for reflections or looking for leading lines or looking for things that are quite unusual and abstract. And that's what these sort of three examples are, is, getting down low and skimming across water to get the nice reflections of your mountains and or whatever else might be out there. And then, looking for leading lines in rocks and coastlines and movement in water and things like that, which is that middle shot. And then the one on the right is actually quite a very unique plant that grows only here in Tasmania. It's called a fagus tree or a nonophagus tree. It's a winter deciduous tree, which is a bit unusual as well. And it grows only above about 800 metres in elevation. So it's a really weird weird little plant, but it turns all these different amazing colours. It's got these tiny little leaves that look like crimple cut chips, potato chips, and they all go yellow, red, orange, and green all throughout the autumn season. But it makes for spectacular landscape shots. All the mountains are all covered in the side of the mountains of all these beautiful colours. So and it has all these really gnarly root systems, which I think make really cool shots as well. But like they're all handheld shots. These are all taken on the new OM1, and all taken with the 8-25 as well. The one with the reflection, like that was a bit of a tricky shot. That's actually handheld with the screen popped down, holding it out in front of me to get through the grass and get the shot. And it's a handheld shot. It's almost about a 15th of a second, so it's fairly slow shutter speed. The one in the middle is up in the northeast of Tasmania. We have a lot of this lichen on the rocks, all the red rocks, and all the coastline's got these granite boulders and stuff. It's really quite spectacular. That's a 2.5 second handheld shot off this little lookout system. That's actually, I think it was taken just after the sun had gone down, so it's quite dark. But 2.5 seconds handheld to get all the water movement. We go back 10 years. That's unheard of. Someone hand holding 2.5 years. So,
right, that's amazing.
Yeah, and then the abstract one, which again that was. I have a friend. I don't think he's watching today, but we went out hiking around the back country of out the back of the mountains and standing on about 2 or 3 rocks with our legs all spread, trying to get these shots, looking down at these rocks and. Without having to put a tripod up, you could easily just get that shot you wanted. If I needed to get a tripod, I would have needed, almost 6 legs on the tripod to be able to balance it all around. Again, it's just another benefit of having that really good image stabilizer. You can just get shots that not many people usually get.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's awesome. Ooh, I like this waterfall flow. Is this live ND then too, or is this?
Well, this is actually before live ND. Yeah, this is before the day. So this is actually taken on a EM1 Mark II with another really cool lens I love, which is the 12mm f2. In my time of using all different types of cameras, I think the 12mm f2 it's one of the sharpest lenses I've ever used. It is pin sharp and really, really good. But this is a notoriously famous trip down in Tasmania. This one, this is a place called Reynolds Falls. So it's about a 20-kilometre hike through mostly uncharted sort of forest regions, and you really do get off the grid. But the funny story, or not so funny story about this one is actually, I walked in. It took me about 9 hours to walk in with a friend, and it took us about 3 minutes to get home inside a helicopter. So I did my knee. I tore my knee, one of my knee muscles or ligaments, on the way down to this waterfall, and then we had to get someone to come and help get us out. So it's a pretty popular story down here that locals like to poke a bit of muck at me about, which is fine. Happy to take it. But it was a beautiful walk. But this waterfall was one of the best waterfalls I've ever seen. And again, there was this really, really tight spot to shoot. Had the tripod set up and. So it was beautiful to take a shot of that. But it's a story to tell, and I'll probably tell my kids, and they'll probably tell their kids, and about how Dad got in a helicopter.
So and everyone in town knows you as the guy who doesn't eat Vegemite, got life flighted out of the waterfall. Did you take this photo before or after you were injured? Did you I hurt my knee on the way in, and when we got to camp, we were about 1 kilometre from the waterfall, and I remember saying to my friend, I'm not walking this far and not getting a photograph. And my actual thought was, I was thinking more safety of rescue teams and how if I wasn't going to be able to get out of here. And I thought the safer option, instead of them trying to get us from inside this really, really thick forest, that this waterfall was quite a big open area, that it might be easier for them to get me out of there. So that was my rationale to go down to the waterfall to take the photo. And it wasn't until we got back up in the next day that my knee sort of really swelled up and got a bit sore. So, I got this shot after I hurt my knee, and then went back up to camp and took a few anti-inflammatory drugs, may or may not have drank a little bit of whiskey, and chilled out until the next morning. Then we decided I wasn't going to be able to walk out, and walking out would have probably put me in more danger going back where we came from. So, but we used one of those Garmin InReaches to get help, and the guys that came and picked us up were amazingly professional.
anyone around the world that works in rescue and ambulance and paramedics and police, they are amazing people. And to this day, I'm actually really good friends with the helicopter crew that picked us up. We all became good mates, and we had to some of the chopper pilot and the police rescue actually had to walk back in because they left all their medical gear. There was an issue with the winch in the helicopter. It stopped working, and it was a big story. It's a story for another day, but they actually walked in and picked up a lot of our gear and brought our gear out. So needless to say, that rescue crew had an endless amount of beer supplied to them for the next few months after that. So
Right.
which is pretty much currency in Australia. If you do something nice for someone, it's a slab of beer or a bottle of whiskey or something like that.
I like it. I'm coming.
Yeah.
I'll be there. Packing my bag.
It sounds like you might all actually be like a token Australian. I think
I was
you'd fit
gonna
in.
say, yeah, these are all my favorite things. You
Yeah.
know, minus the emergency
Yep.
escort out of the mountain. But I really love that all of your photos have these truly intense stories behind them, or not
Yeah.
necessarily intense, but like these feelings and these memories.
Yeah.
It's been interesting. I love it.
Yeah, and to me, that's what photography is all about. It's, we're capturing time, like we're taking moments of time, and I think, a lot of workshops I do, I tell people to turn the camera off for 5 minutes and just take it in. I think we spend too much time on looking through video, back of viewfinders or back of phones. I think we need to just switch it off and, go through it. So, but I'll go through these other tips because I'm rambling on as always. One of the apps I like to use is Photo Pills. I think Photo Pills are pretty popular worldwide, but what I love about them is that you can really plan ahead and find where things are, where the sun's going to be, where the shadows will fall, if the Milky Way is coming up or if it's not. You can get a heap of information out of there. And it's also a great resource for photography knowledge. Like they have all their depth of field graphs and they have all their calculations and all that kind of stuff. So they're really good. I'm a big believer, and you probably find out now that I'm not a fair weather photographer. I like to get out into the gnarly weather. So if it's raining, snowing, windy, dusty, I like to get out in the weather and get out there. And again, this is why the system is so good with its weatherproofing. You can just drench these cameras. You can take them anywhere, and they just keep on kicking. They're unreal. So again, I did have that tip in there. Always tell someone where you're going, safety. So I knew it was going to come up. And if you're going off the grid, obviously take an emergency beacon or take some way of trying to get in contact with people. Tasmania is notoriously bad for phone reception in some places. So if you do, when all these people watching all come down to Tasmania next year, make sure you bring something with you or hire an emergency beacon if you're going off the grid a bit further. I like to always look ahead as well, checking upcoming weather. I've found over the years that weather repeats itself. So, we generally get the same sort of snow dumps at the same time of year. And, if you might miss an amazing snow dump this year, but, you can plan ahead for next year saying, oh, gee, I'd love to go up to the top of that mountain, or I'd love to hike into that part over there. I'll put it in my diary that, usually it snows around about this time and you can work around that. So I look at, look at weather. And then importantly, I think for all photographers worldwide is just to leave no trace. Let's keep this place nice and tidy. Every time I do the overland track, I'm constantly picking up used tissues and bits of paper that people have dropped out of their pockets. And it's a really easy thing just to pick up after yourself. So look after our environment, stay on the tracks as best you can. Don't stomp around where the animals all are, and don't drop litter and things like that. So they'd be my main other tips and apps that I'd use.
I like it. We firmly stand behind the leave no trace bit, making sure to take care of our planet. This is the only one that we have, and we want to photograph it looking beautiful.
That's exactly right. Yeah, let's not trash it.
All right. Ooh, more waterfalls.
Yeah, a few movements, waterfall movements. Tasmania has a lot of waterfalls. I think we're close to, if not over, 200 waterfalls around the state. Some are really easy to get to. Some are quite extensive to get to. This one on the left is called Russell Falls. Oh, you've gone out.
My light has died.
Gone out. So Russell Falls, which is really close to the capital of Tasmania, which is Hobart. It's a beautiful 3-tiered waterfall, real easy to get to. Again, you can do handheld or you can do with a tripod. The one in the middle is the east coast of Tasmania, which is quite, it's more summery and beautiful beaches and beautiful rocks and beautiful granite region. And then the one on the right is taken during a blizzard on top of one of the mountains around near Hobart. of a beautiful old snow gum. We have lots of beautiful old trees and snow gums around here. And that was actually taken as a high res shot, which is something else that's really cool on the system, is that we have high res. So, you know, a lot of people might say, but, you know, OMs are only 20 odd or 20 megapixel photos. Well, you know, if you do a high res, you can get up to 80 megapixel these days on some of the cameras. And I always challenge people with that as well. It's like if you're just going to put them on Instagram or Facebook or on your hard drive, then, you know, resolution doesn't mean much at all. It's when you print them out and when you make them look big, and, you know, where all camera photos should end up is on someone's wall or framed up on a gallery or something like that. So the high res mode I think is really, really good as well. So, but looking for movement in your shots, you know, movement, you know, creates some mood and some interest in your shots. So I always encourage people to do that as well.
So I really like the clouds in the middle one. Is that, I mean, are those the clouds? You don't do cloud replacement, do you?
No, the gentleman before, who's from Ocean Grove, I'm going to dob him in. I know him. He drops skies into a lot of his photographs these days, and we have lots of chats about that on our podcast. That I don't drop skies, but that's a new thing that a lot of people do. But no, this was just a weird lighting at sunset. It was sort of the clouds were being lit from the right, and there were sort of darker clouds from behind. So they just sort of created this sort of weird effect where they sort of stood out more. So yeah, so I don't replace skies or anything like that. Everything's just done with the dynamic range of the camera, the settings, circular polarizer, and a bit of, you know, talking about Connor, and I'm very similar to Connor as well, that I don't spend hours editing photos. If I spend more than a couple of minutes editing a photo, I've probably done it wrong to start with, and got the settings wrong or got the composition wrong or whatever. So, and I think that comes from shooting film. I think when you're shooting film, you didn't have that opportunity to take 12,000 different shots of the same thing and then pick one and fix it up. So
Right. You just had what you got.
you had what you got. And yeah, I think if you can get shots in a single frame, I think it's more rewarding. Personally, I think it's awesome if you can walk away and, you know, people like your photos, and, you know, you can say, well, that's just one shot. It's not created, it's actually taken. So yeah.
I just have to shout this out really quick because Kim dropped her EM1 Mark I into the dam at Cradle Mountain Lodge.
Yes, hi Kim. Yes, that
and her
story.
camera's still doing well. So hey,
Yeah, that's the only time I've done a workshop where I've seen a guest up to their waist in water, fishing out a camera from a pond. That's unfortunately, Kim, that story gets told regularly on my workshops around Tasmania, but it's to promote how good the weatherproofing is of the cameras, because Kim pulled it out of the lake. She took it to her room. She took everything apart, gave it a dry. The next morning, still working. So incredible. So, but try not to knock your cameras into lakes and ponds if you can. That's probably the number one rule.
right. They're very weather sealed. They're very great. They're very durable, very rugged, but don't go swimming with them.
No. Try not to.
Try to avoid it. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Oh, okay. Hold on. I'm going to remove this really quick because I do have a couple of quick questions for
Sure.
you that popped up. Wait, nope. We went through the portable charger one. Do you do any special prep for your camera when you're at those below zero temperatures? Is there anything that you do to get your camera going?
Yeah, what I'd probably do is more so before and after the fact is one of the biggest things I think people do is they put their camera bag in their car, and they get in their car and they crank the heater up, and then they go to their location and they get out of their car and they open their bag up, and all it does is just create instant condensation through your thing. So it sounds silly, but if I'm going to a really cold spot, I'll actually have the window down in my car and try and keep the cabin and everything sort of nice and sort of regulated, because I've done it many times where you get to a spot and the light is just going off, and you pull your camera out and the filter and the lens have fogged up in between, and by the time you get it all fixed up, the light's all gone. So I try and keep my camera out of my bag, usually on the car seat next to me, try and keep it regulated to temperature. But when I'm out there, if it's really cold, I don't do anything. I don't really wrap the camera up in any warmth or any covers or anything. I just shoot as it is. And the other thing that I find is your lens cap. If you put your lens cap in your pocket and then you pull it back out and put it on your camera in between shots if it's snowing or raining, that the lens cap's warm and your lens is cold, and you put it together and it causes condensation together. So I usually tip my camera forward down on the tripod so it doesn't get any drops on the lens, just to keep that temperature the same. So that'd be probably the tip I'd do there.
And then one more, because this is my question to you, because I watched the worst episode before I went to Australia the first time of the world's deadliest creatures.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so are there any creatures we need to be afraid of or worried or cautious of when we're hiking in Tasmania? Because
Well,
all of the creatures on that show were in Australia.
Yeah.
All of them.
All the Australians watching me will crucify me if I don't say watch out for the drop bears. But there's no such thing as a drop bear.
Wait, what's a drop bear?
It's a mythical creature that we've made up that drops out of bear. It's like a koala, but it's like a killer koala, but it's not. So, but a lot of people, we tell a lot of tourists about the drop bears, so don't worry about them. But in Tasmania is quite safe. Well, there is snakes. We do have snakes during summer. And I think the good thing about Tasmania, we have 3 or 4 different breeds of snake. They're all deadly. So if you do get bitten by a snake, you don't have to worry about whether or not it's deadly or not. It is, but you'll get help. That's okay. And then the rest of the animals we have are all very small and very friendly. Some of them make some bad noise. We have the world famous Tassie devil, the Tasmanian devil, which makes this really crazy, gnarly sort of growling noise at night time. You can hear them, but they're perfectly safe. So really, I'd say snakes. We have some spiders and depending when you go, we have leeches as well. Some leeches can be, that's probably just turned you straight off coming to Tasmania, hasn't it? Yep, thought so. Yeah.
I'm done.
So that's it. Leeches can come around during the sort of cooler months, but overall, there's no real major animals. Because we're on an island, I think all the nasty animals stayed on the big island, and we've got more of the friendly ones down in Tasmania.
All I know is when I got to Australia, nobody warned me about flying foxes, and they're like the size of dogs in the air. And I was like at a market at night, and there's like a dog flying at me. It was a bat dog.
The bat dog. Yeah, actually we do have some bats down here in Tasmania, but Australia, it's a really, I think it's Crocodile Dundee's problem that he made everyone think that Australia is all dangerous and deadly. Like we have deadly animals, but really you don't see them much. And if you don't go poking the beehive, then you're not going to have an issue. It's when you go trying to look at snakes and trying to pick them up and pat them and
thank you.
Respect the animals. It goes back to that leave no trace thing. Leave the animals alone; they'll leave you alone. But yeah, Tassie's really friendly. We have these really cool things called potoroos. They're like a short, stubby kangaroo. They never grew up, but they're really cute. They sort of hop around and they'll hop through your camp when you're camping and stuff like that. So all our animals
friendly, right?
Yeah, totally friendly.
Awesome.
They might get into your food pack if they're hungry, but they won't bite you. They're all pretty friendly. Yeah.
Well, I guess we have come to the end of our time. We've gone 20 minutes over. I love that you guys are all still watching. No, not you, Cam.
Oh, okay.
I just love our comment section, our viewers, all these people that hang out with us, even though we've never managed to stay on time on a single episode. So thank you guys for hanging out with us. I'm going to give you all your evenings back, including you, Cam. So thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to show my backyard, and thanks to all the Australians watching. And yeah, come on down, guys. Come down to Tassie and come and see this amazing place we have. Bring your cameras and come on down.
Yeah. So what is your tour company called? So when I get there, I'll know who to book.
Yeah, so it's Tasmanian Photography Workshops. So you can look it up at tasphoto.com.au if people want to jump on and have a look. We do all different types of adventures. So we do the overland track. We do a whitewater rafting trip where we go down for 8 days on a wild river and take photos. It's awesome. But we also do some really easy, cruisy, stay in nice hotels and walk the paths and do stuff like that. But come on down and come and say good day. Come and have a beer, as we would say.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Cam.
Thank you, guys.
See you soon. You guys that are left hanging out with me, 2 more seconds. One more push for World Photography Day. It's coming up next month, August 19th. Again, we're going to have all-day programming in 5 different languages, if I remember correctly. So there's a language out there for you, hopefully. We'll be having some of our ambassadors and our master trainers and our tech experts doing all sorts of different photography talks and trainings. So definitely keep an eye out on our events page. It's events.eao .omsystem.com. Sorry, it just came out and I was drawing a blank on the rest of that. So events.eao.omsystem.com. I threw it in the chat for you guys. I'm sweating to death, even though 90 degrees is not that hot. So I'll say goodnight to you all. And I won't see you in August because we're doing World Photography Day that week. But I will see you guys again in September. We're going to be looking at maybe some mushrooms, I think. I'm not sure yet. Have a great, great night, everyone. And thank you as always for joining us.